Joining us now, Ken Cuccinelli, Senior Fellow for Homeland Security and Immigration at the Center for Renewing America, former Virginia Attorney General, former Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security, and always a welcome guest on this program. Hey, Ken, great to talk to you again, sir.
Yeah, good to talk to you, Vince.
What do you make of the Trump administration's first week tackling the immigration problem?
Well, it's certainly a substantial step up even from his first term. And I got to tell you, your quote there from Pete Hegseth what is night and day from the defense secretaries of the first term, who did everything they could to resist the president's use of the Department of Defense to protect our borders, whether it was excuses or dragging their feet or what have you. And now we have the opposite. The real question I have on that front is, are they going to actually use the troops to keep people out of this country? No more of this, oh, we're there to support the Border Patrol, bull honky. You're there to stop invasions of this country, just like the Secretary of Defense just said. The Department of Defense should be involved in that. So I'm watching for that. I've seen them move the Marines. I've seen them move other troops to the border. If they use troops to augment the Border Patrol between ports of entry, the president could have absolute control of this border by the end of February.
Mm-hmm. And all of that would be the Democrats keep saying stuff like, "Oh, that's unconstitutional. It's illegal. They can't be involved in law enforcement. That's posse comitatus." What do you say to all of that in your capacity as a lawyer?
Well, Vince, I've seen that too. And you know what I haven't seen is them point to any part of the Constitution that's being violated. So the president has Article 2 authority as the commander-in-chief.
Right.
He's in charge of the military. And the most basic fundamental purpose of the military is to protect the sovereign borders of a nation. So the idea that this is even a law enforcement function,
yes,
and even if it were, the military can do that too,
yes,
is ludicrous.
So I mean,
they're just spouting the words,
right? And if a foreign adversary attacks us inside of our borders, the military is allowed to respond, aren't they?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
Just making sure. Okay, all right. So what?
And they can help with the deportations. There's an awful lot the Department of Defense can do, and obviously they have enormous resources.
Bill Malugin over at the Fox News Channel, in just the last hour or so, has been reporting that suspected cartel gunmen, opened fire at Border Patrol agents in Fronton, Texas. The Border Patrol agents returned fire. Not clear if anyone was hit in the exchange, but this is a very real and live issue, Ken Cuccinelli.
It is a very real and live issue. That is not the first time fire's been exchanged with cartel members across that border. Ask the Texas Department of Public Safety. They've been dealing with that for years, and it just doesn't get reported very much in our country. And the cartels obviously are the most violent, vicious people in the Western Hemisphere, and they control the southern side of that border.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely critical that we reestablish, for our own safety and security, reestablish control of that border, especially between the legal ports of entry. Mm-hmm. That way that the only people coming in are getting vetted by Customs Border Protection.
We've seen a lot of footage from all across the country of violent illegal aliens being picked up by the Trump administration. Tom Homan, of course, leading that effort as they pick up sex offenders, people who've abused children, murderers. They're all being taken into custody right now in a very public way. What do you make of that operation as they gather up? It looks like in the vicinity of about 1,000 people per day.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful? It's finally going the other way. And this is making our country safer over and above immigration issues. But let's not forget that while these are the highest priority, and there's a darn good reason for it because it does make us safer in our communities, that all of the illegals, everybody these people breaking the law additionally live with, need to be deported as well. And, that is a major logistical effort that the administration is still just in the beginnings of ramping up to accomplish.
Yeah. How much will these public arrests of illegal aliens, how much pressure does that place on other foreign nationals who are here illegally to maybe pick up and move of their own accord before they're placed in handcuffs?
Yeah, Vince, that's a great question, because what matters the most in the long term is that people considering coming here, A, believe they won't get in, and B, believe that if they get in, they're going to be removed. And I saw Tom Homan again just a day or two ago in interviews talking about removing them all. And if you ever accept that we're going to remove less than everyone here illegally, then they start to get the sense they can stay.
Right.
And if they know they're going to get picked up, if they know they're going to get arrested, some of them suddenly, some of them will go home rather than stay. I would say that's particularly true, Vince, if the Department of Homeland Security starts cutting down on work permits to only the absolute legally required minimum.
You being a Virginia guy, I'm curious about your thoughts about some of the Northern Virginia school districts, or at least Fairfax County, sending out notifications to parents and principals and teachers that they're working to make sure everyone knows what to do if ICE agents show up at the schools. What do you make of this kind of these dispatches being put out by these left wing school districts?
This is just more political virtue signaling. You remember the mayor of Denver? We're going to resist and this and that, and Tom Homan said, "Bring it on. We'll arrest you." He said, "Well, I didn't really mean resist, And Pritzker, governor of Illinois, look, these folks are going to talk tough. They're going to continue to politically virtue signal, and it's going to mean nothing. It's going to mean absolutely nothing, because the very first time the first one of them aids or abets somebody avoiding federal law enforcement, they're in violation of the harboring illegal aliens federal statute. That's a felony.
Yes.
And I am sure, much like we have a completely new day in the Department of Defense when Pam Bondi gets there in the Department of Justice, I don't think they'll hire a single U.S. attorney who isn't wildly enthusiastic about pursuing immigration offenders. That was not true in the first Trump administration. We had a lot of just traditional, gee, that's dirty, lowly work, I don't want to do that. Not anymore. And so if you get somebody from a school district or a local government that's standing in the way of actual legitimate federal law enforcement, they're going to get arrested and they're going to get prosecuted. And you know what I'm really confident of, Vince? There aren't going to be two of them. Because as soon as the first one happens, no one else will step out of line again. It'll all be mouthing off, and that's it.
Yes, it'd be like how Donald Trump just handled the Colombian president. 37 minutes for a complete reversal of their policy of not accepting their own foreign nationals back after President Trump threatened them with tariffs and cutting off all their visas and diplomatic visits. He got that done very quickly. You're right. That would send a clear message. One good prosecution of some deranged sanctuary city official, the rest of them will all fall in line.
Yes, they absolutely will. And to your point about Colombia, it's always been allowable to sanction these countries that don't take their deportables out of the United States. And you know what the sanctions have been in the past? And I blame the State Department heavily for this, although the president never made them do anything better. It was things like the children of party officials can't get student visas to the United States. Mm-hmm. Seriously, 1/10 of 1/10 of 1,000% is who we're sanctioning. So instead, Trump comes back with Colombia and says, your whole nation gets hit with tariffs if you don't start taking these people back.
Yes.
We need to see that with India. We need to see it with China. We need to see it with the big countries that aren't taking their people back, because we got a lot more to send them.
That's right. And China in particular, we have tens of thousands of illegal Chinese foreign nationals who've literally come up from South America, crossed through the Darien Gap, came into the United States illegally via our southern border, and China's refusing to take any of them back.
Yes, they are. And, we have something like 300,000 Chinese students here on student visas. It's time to knock that number down to about 3,000 that are taking Western Civ as their major, Yeah. So that's long overdue. I hope this president will do that.
Yeah.
By the way, that also defunds these universities who hate us.
Yeah, we got a lot of that going on too. Ken Cuccinelli. Hey, before I let you go, one last thing, just on a different topic, but you talk about Pam Bondi coming into the Justice Department. We've got breaking news this afternoon that the Justice Department just fired a dozen Justice Department prosecutors who were involved in these lawfare prosecutions of Donald Trump. In other words, they must have been working with Jack Smith. It looks like accountability is arriving very rapidly, Ken Cuccinelli.
Yeah, and accountability is critical. A lot of these folks believe they can just duck their head and outlast any given president. It's absolutely critical that these people be fired, that everybody know they be fired. You know, in DHS, it's the people who are working on censorship and CISA.
Yeah.
Same at FBI. We've got all kinds of people who need to be fired. And frankly, the ones who are violating people's rights, like censorship, should be prosecuted.
Yes.
You want to keep future bureaucrats from doing it. Let them know that the current administration can't protect them.
Hell yeah. Chill censorship, not speech. Thank you very much. Ken Cuccinelli, I really appreciate your time today, sir.